20. He separates. He's to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Florida State. Warwick got on third down.
Winky looking Winky. Wants to throw the knockout punch to Warwick. Warwick open. Touchdown. He does a touchdown. He did catch it. Touchdown, Florida State. Oh, Peter Warwick, how'd you do that?
Kermit Whitfield to the left side. A hole to the 30. Kermit Whitfield to the 30. To the 20. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, FSU. Kermit Whitfield. A 100-yard touchdown.
Here's the snap. Winston rolling right. Throws the pass on the end.
It's caught. It's caught. It's caught.
For the end zone battle. Coleman. Touchdown.
We're doing it for everybody. We're doing it big all over the country, all over the world. And I'm proud. I'm proud to say I'm a Florida State Seminole.
The Garnet and Old Show, Thursday, live, 7 o'clock. Vince?
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Normally on Thursday. We decided
Normally
to go Wednesday.
on Thursdays.
Yeah,
no inside info, no contacts, no problem, no calendar.
Vince is headed to Charlotte this weekend.
I am. I'm leaving. I'm actually leaving to go to Tallahassee tomorrow. We're going to watch the Prism concert. My daughter's in the Chiefs, as everyone knows. We're going to watch the Prism concert tomorrow night, and then we will start traveling up towards Charlotte, picking up my other daughter on the way. And the one half of the Garnet and Old, the old part of Garnet and Old, will be taking care of business in the Queen City. The
younger but still old part of Garnet and Old now has a desk and a monitor and my headset. Now that I'm fully pretty much moved into the new digs in Tampa, Florida. So it's nice to not have cell phone quality audio and video and just kind of winging it with laptop cameras and everything. So it's nice to have my full setup again. Still have to do a few things with lighting and everything, but it's good to be in the house. But Vince, what a great season to be a Seminole fan. We talk every week about appreciating the moment. When we started off the season, you and I both predicted 11-1 regular season. Neither one of us thought 12-0 was we thought possible, but not likely. And man, with all the adversity, with all the injuries, here we are, Vince, an undefeated regular season. How are you feeling?
I still can't believe it in a lot of ways. Because you look back on it and you go 12 in a row, man, how did that happen? In the moment, you from game to game, you're like, oh yeah. And you're kind of building on that. But when you look back on it, it's pretty amazing accomplishment. I think we both said, the floor was probably 9-3.
Yeah.
And the ceiling was absolutely 12-0. But I will have to go back and re-listen to the old shows. I probably said that 9-3 was more likely than 12-0.
Yeah, we said 10-2 was probably the most likely scenario, but we were predicting 11-1 because we were feeling confident.
Yeah, so welcome everybody in tonight, and if you want to join the chat here, please do so. Ask some questions. There's been so much going on today or this week, Ryan. After Jordan's injury. Right. And everything that's led up to this show tonight, there has been so many things that have gone on. We got so much to talk about.
Yeah, there's been some fun stuff, some transfer portal stuff, some head coaching stuff. Vince, I think it's fair to start on one thing, which is the most important thing when we play our rivals. And that's a little fun for our rivals. The Gators, once again, without our starting quarterback. They were without theirs, which apparently they're going to be without that quarterback from now on,
forever,
according to the portal. But man, what a game! A little nervous at halftime. But listen, you and I have talked about this many times. With this team, you just don't panic about it. You kind of feel like, well, let's see what happens because this team is never out of it.
Yeah, I think I was a little more worried just because of Jordan not being in the game, right?
Yeah.
But even with Jordan in some of the games this year, they've started slow. They've had some kind of feeling, like in a boxing match, the first few rounds is kind of like feeling it out. It's kind of the same thing with this team. But I had a little more trepidation because of our quarterback not being available. Right. So did I ever feel like we were going to lose the game? I don't know that I ever felt that, but I did feel like it was a rivalry game and anything could happen,
Yeah.
right? And there were so many, critical moments in that game, and a lot of adverse moments, of course, in the beginning of the game. Again, like you said, this team does not back down.
To quote the Tom Petty song, Vince, I was worried we were going to lose until we scored our first touchdown, and then I thought we are 100% going to win. That's how much my confidence fluctuated because I started to see our defense taking over the game, and that
Yes,
is once you know that the other team won't be able to move the ball, you get a whole lot more confident.
two things about that, right? Yes, we scored, but the manner in which we scored, first of all, it was like a 90-yard drive, right? And secondly, like their team is doing ridiculous, undisciplined things that we were used to Florida State doing several years ago, right? I don't know that we ever spit on people, but they were doing things that just showed that when it came down to crunch time, they were not going to be able to follow through on composure and the things that's necessary to pull off an upset. That would have been an upset. And in the grand scheme of things, even though as close as that game was for the first part of the game, the the discrepancy in talent between those two teams is pretty enormous.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because Vince, one thing I want to kind of get into a little bit is that beginning the very first quarter, man, Brown made like throws that nobody should make. Like Heisman Trophy winning candidates out there right now aren't making especially the throw up the sideline. Vince,
Yeah.
it was.
So
I was like,
sidearm.
oh. At first, I was thinking, oh, this guy. Hopefully, this guy is not this the whole game or this from now on because that's a scary thought. He came back down to earth, but that was when I was worried, Vince, in the first quarter when I saw some of those throws. I'm like, well, hello there.
Yeah, and those throws were like, okay, this is what we're going to do tonight,
Yeah.
right? But I think in general, when you go back, I don't know if you've rewatched the game yet,
Oh boy, have I?
but 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 if you go back and you rewatch the game, it's not just Tate that's kind of pressing. There are a lot of people that are almost like kind of trying to overdo it,
Benson.
right? So it takes a while for everybody to settle down and just kind of like, hey, do your job. You know what you're supposed to do. Just do it. Once that starts happening, then the quarterback doesn't have the time, right? And guys are not getting open. But yeah, that kid's got talent, arm talent, and he can move, and he will be moving and throwing for another team.
Absolutely. And I think Benson, same thing. He was pressing a little bit in the beginning in that first run, the first quarter, really. We only had the ball a little bit, but
Very little.
He was shuffling a little bit too much for any of our likings. But then guess what? I guarantee you he got to the sideline and it feels like one of the coaches said, hey, man, just
It's
cut.
there.
And Vince, how about that cut in the fourth quarter to put the game away? Yeah, it's almost like someone had a sideways like moving walkway that he stepped on while doing the jump cut because he went from like the right side of the offensive line just past it all the way to the center in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it was like almost like a ricochet to the left. It reminds me of me in my younger days.
Oh, does very nice, very nice. But Vince, any final words before we move on about the Florida game?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to talk about in terms of the Florida game. We don't have hours and hours and hours to discuss it, but yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the main things to talk about. There's been a lot of chatter about how that game went down in terms of the atmosphere. Have you ever been to the Swamp, Brian?
When I was younger, but not in my adult life. Every time I've thought about going, I've just thought better of it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there, and I think I mentioned on the last show, I don't have any desire to ever go back again, just because of the type of abuse that I've taken. But that place is intimidating, right? It's loud. It's very loud, and it's obnoxiously colored. The orange is overbearing. I mean, as a rival, it's tough to visualize.
Yeah.
But the sound stays in that stadium the way it's constructed. Um, and and you know, as loud as it was, the only thing, not the only thing, the thing that I heard the most in the broadcast was were the Chiefs.
Yeah. It was awesome.
It was ridiculously loud.
And
And
how about
so,
the fans too going along with it too?
yeah, I mean, there were tons of Knowles there, and you know, I do take some time to read some rival boards after a game, right? Even when we lose, I do. But I tend to read those because I like to get the vibe, you know, from the rivals too.
Yeah.
This is the one that cracked me up, right? How loud is FSU's band on the broadcast? And someone else replies, they sound like they're in my living room.
It was awesome.
It was unbelievably loud. They were dominating, you know, the the vibe of that game. And of course, I'll have to pull this other thing up too, right? So, can I play this audio? I think I can.
No,
Let's see what we got
we'll
here.
see.
Now, let's see what we got here.
Vince with the
Hang on.
technology trying to one
Give
off on the show here.
Okay, hold on.
Whoever, hey
yeah.
Vince, whoever the drum major is that I'm assuming they make the call. You know better than I do on when to play. Well done.
Yeah, and so I do know how that works, and as fantastic as that moment is, and as epic as that moment is, and we're going to remember forever because it really got to the rivals, right? They were so offended that the Chiefs would play the war chant, which they already hate.
Yeah.
But that they would play the war chant during their time honored tradition of Tom Petty's "Don't Back Down," which started, I think, in 2017. That time honored tradition that they would play that. I know for a fact that from a decorum standpoint and from what's typically done between bands, that was not a sanctioned war chant by the directors of the Chiefs. That
That was
that
drum
was
major.
that was a rogue war chant that happened in the moment emotionally. Um, the Chiefs and most bands, I'm not saying just the Chiefs, ahead of time, bands usually get together and the directors say, "Hey, we've got this thing that happens during the fourth quarter. Let's work this stuff out," because Florida State wouldn't want, you know,
Eastbound and Down
uh,
playing while some other
visitor
bands.
bands playing. Yeah, and if they play during Eastbound and Down, I mean, that's cool and all, but I wouldn't count that as a tradition, man. It just started. But
Yeah, to me
anyway,
it's just a fun thing.
just a fun thing. But the band directors, they work that stuff out. I mean, let's face it, these days, the bands have little time to play anymore with all the crap that's piped in,
Yeah,
right?
someone said, Vince, that the Marching Chiefs played more in this game than they do at home because they were playing to the
Yes.
whistle every time in this game.
Yes, and they played right up until they got over center, and is exactly what you're supposed to do, and is fully legal, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Play right up into the point where the center gets over the ball, and they played. I think my daughter was counting it. I think they played the war chant upwards of 60 plus times during the course of the game.
And let's be honest, Vince, for any of the Gator fans claiming that this is like out of bounds, if they were playing beyond the snap or anything like that, the refs would have called a warning. They would have stopped the game. That's what they do. So
Yeah, if the band is playing during an actual offensive play,
yeah,
the band there would be a warning, and
yeah,
if it happened again, there would be a penalty. The team can get a penalty for the band playing,
yep,
during an offensive play.
yeah.
So that did not happen, regardless of what you're reading online. That did not happen. But just to clear some things up, even though we love what happened, and if you've seen the meme of Squidward, I think it's Squidward about to, conduct something, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the windows shatter and the war chant starts playing. even though that is so epic, what happened in that moment, I'm telling everybody that it was not a sanctioned thing from the director. It just happened in the emotion of the moment, and we are all left with a great memory.
Absolutely. And listen, that just goes back to send the Chiefs all the damn time. And we say it every week here on the Garden Old Show. And you know, we should send them, man, because that makes a difference. They make a difference in the game, and they can change the mood of a game and the momentum of a game. Last thing I'll say about the Florida game, Vince, before moving on, Chris Fowler, man, was unbearable. Um, he it's not that he says anything directly wrong. It's just that what he chooses not to talk about is obvious, and then what he chooses to talk about Florida about or other playoff teams is obvious. And then Vince, I want to get your take. How did you feel about the Tebow speech, huh?
I mean, it's great to be a Gator, right? I love
Yeah.
being a Gator. Um, and there's nothing like being a Gator, and we don't like that team over there. I don't
Yeah.
know, man. I don't have any problem with him.
During the snaps, though, do you usually they minimize it to the bottom like a corner?
We missed some plays because they were having a Tebow cry speech. It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And but he's a media darling,
Yeah.
right? And that's the way it's always been. It's the way it's always going to be. He was the one of the very few shining lights of decorum on that team, on that Gator team, when they were harboring, murderers and um and girlfriend beaters and whatever else was
Yeah.
going on. They had like 22 arrests in the span of like 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But so I don't have any problem with him, but you're right, man. It's like, but don't get me wrong. The talking heads, Ryan, they know how to get engagement.
Yeah.
They
do.
know, and engagement is clicks, and clicks are money.
Yep.
And Florida State, which we're all fans of. I love all our people out there. Love them all. But man, do we get triggered for the most inane things sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. By the way, I heard Kerr Herbstreit. The good news is that Kerr Herbstreit, I did a live broadcast today, and he said you would almost certainly believe that Florida State wins against Louisville. They're a lock, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
One thing, Vince, I know you want to cover is some of the accolades, right?
Yeah. So if you're following along, another thing that happened this week is the ACC posted or voted on and announced the first team, the second team, all AC's third team, whatever, all that, an offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and it's just littered with Knowles as it should be.
Yep.
Right. But to the tune of a team record. How many guys placed on it?
2013 and 14 were a thing. So pretty impressive.
And of course, the last thing that came out most recently today was Jordan Travis was voted the ACC Player of the Year,
which is awesome,
and the ACC Offensive Player of the Year.
And Mike Norvell's in contention to win Coach of the Year.
I thought they already announced that. Did they not?
Did they?
Maybe they didn't.
Maybe they didn't. I think it's between him and
probably Jeff Brom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vince, I want to go right into the portal and the portal stuff because there's a lot of stuff I want to cover. First, let's have a little fun.
My mind's been swimming, Ryan. There's been so much going on.
How about Colorado losing like one after the other, all at the same time? I've been really enjoying the from what was a Colorado could win the national championship at the beginning of the year to Deion first saying that he didn't need transfer guys or the NIL, and now
he was bringing his own luggage.
Yeah, and then the week after that saying, hey, guys, you have to give. It's the only way that millions of dollars the only way we're going to get them while his players are decommitting. It's been a fun week with that.
Yeah, Deion at one point says, this isn't an ATM. And then in his very next speech, he's basically telling his supporters that they need money for the NIL.
Yeah, if they want to compete at all, so to give more.
And you've got guys going in the portal, and hey, Florida State's going to have guys go in the portal too.
Sure, yeah.
We're not going to be immune to that. That's going to happen. But you've also got coaches resigning from Colorado as well.
You
And
also have. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
You also have Tyler Van Dyke in the portal. You have Brown from Florida that we just
Max
played
Brown. Yep.
in
Mhm.
the portal. Some big time
Link,
players.
who's the Riley Leonard from
Yep.
Duke?
You have
Um,
our good old friend from last year, Trayshawn Ward, in the transfer portal.
in the portal, right? Yep. And so people have been asking me, like, do you think he comes back to Florida State? I'm like,
I would like it, but it probably won't happen.
I mean, the question, I mean, he left for a reason. And I think
He
he
wanted
left
a,
a feature back role.
and I think he might have learned because he didn't even get that where he was at, that maybe he needs to be open to being part of the room.
Right. And if he is open to being part of the room, because that room is stacked, man.
Yeah.
And it's stacked right now, and there are more coming. So would we love to have him back? Sure. But I mean, as you saw this year, I mean, the carries get split up.
Yeah.
You know, Trey Benson was the featured back, right? But it's not like these other guys didn't get run. They got a lot of run. Cam Ward also, thank you, Kurt. Cam Ward also in the portal. I mean, there's going to be a ton of quarterbacks in the portal, way more than there are now.
Hey, how about
AJ Duffy's probably going to go into the portal.
How about all three of Michigan State's quarterbacks in the portal? The whole quarterback room is in the portal. The entire room. You would think one of them would have said, hey, the other two are leaving. Maybe I should stay. But their number one recruit, who was the number one player in Oregon, went on record today saying he's not interested because the coach they're bringing in from Oregon State did not even try to recruit him out of high school. And he said, why would I want to play for a guy like that? And they said, is there any way you would stay at Michigan State and reconsider? He said, I'm done at this point.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm happy that kids have the opportunity to do the one transfer. I mean, it makes sense. It should have been it should have been this way for a long
For sure, yeah.
but if you think about Florida, think about Florida. So this Max Brown kid who played pretty well for his first start, you know, he did okay.
Yeah.
But he looks and says, okay, Mertz is probably going to come back.
Yep.
Right. And Mertz, let's be honest, Mertz played way better than I thought he would have played.
For sure, yeah.
And they've got DJ Lagway.
Yeah.
Lagway committed to them for next year. And depending on which rankings you look at, he's anywhere from, you know, maybe the third best quarterback to the 10th best quarterback, right?
Yep.
So, but think about this. Because Florida's been known to not be able to close the deal on some recruits.
Sure.
Because of the mess with the NIL and all these other things. What if the Lagway thing goes sideways? Then what?
Just Graham Mertz. That's it.
Think about Miami.
Tyler Van Dyke. Now, can I tell you, Vince? I think sneakily, that's one of the biggest. Listen, I don't think he didn't play well because he's a terrible player. I mean, I saw some pretty good stuff from him his first year with Miami. I think a fresh starting place will be good for that guy.
Well, and he was playing hurt quite a bit too. I mean, I don't care how good you are. When you're hurt, you're not going to play your best.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the other guy, you know, what did he do? Broke his elbow or whatever in the game with us. And now from what I've heard from different other podcasts and stuff we listen to, they had to talk Ja'Cory Brown into playing in the bowl game.
That's a toughie.
And he hasn't played a snap all year.
Yeah, they're having to convince him. It shows you that, though, in this modern world of college football, if you are a traditional brand name who is not doing well, you better be careful, because all those schools who get the 5 and 4 star recruits that are name brands, and then you go, 5 and 7, people are going to bounce for greener pastures. So you really have to, in this modern day of college football, you really got to keep up with the Joneses and keep winning at least at a 8-9 win clip. You have to be organized. You have to have built a culture that people want to be a part of, and you have to be honest. Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons we've talked about this on our show. That's one of the reasons why things are working so well with the staff of ours. They are on top. They are on top of it.
Yeah,
They're
they
on
don't
top of the
promise anything
portal,
they don't mean.
and they're honest from the get-go, and they preach process, and it's the same thing every day. It's like there's no wavering to it. Stability in the staff is important.
Yeah.
And you can see, like right now, I mean, it's every hour today, there was another graphic about a Gator player going in the portal. Like every hour on the hour.
Yeah, it's great.
So they got to be careful. And I was just talking to my neighbor who's a Gator, and he's a great guy, love the family, and he's not your typical. He's a rational fan, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to him just a little bit ago while I was freezing my butt off outside, and I was just saying, Billy Napier's got to be careful because they've got a tough schedule next year.
Not just tough.
They could have a much improved team next year and it not show up in the wins and losses.
And if that happens, he's gone.
And that would be, in my opinion, that'd be the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Because again, we saw what it takes. You have to have patience. And so if Napier is the right guy, I don't know whether he is or whether he isn't. He probably isn't. But if they don't, it doesn't matter. When you switch coaches, you're like pressing the reset button every time.
Yep.
So those kids are bouncing because I think they know Tool Shed guy isn't who he is, and if you don't know who Tool Shed guy is, go look up the video of the Florida defensive coordinator just vomiting words about defense.
Yeah.
It's quite funny.
It's very
yes, Philip. I was not freezing putting up the Christmas lights because that happened last week.
Vince is,
before.
For those of you who don't know Vince, he's thinking Christmas before it's even the season.
Yeah, I was already putting lights up a couple of weeks ago. And if you're interested and you're in the Jacksonville area, hit me up on Twitter or something, and I'll give you the address. You can come by and see the animated show.
It's one of those. Vince's house is one of those you got to drive by. It's the one in the neighborhood to see. So people drive for from all over just to see Vince's house. But Vince, any other words before we move on to some college football playoff talk?
Yeah, I'm thinking about if there's anything else crazy in the portal that apparently there's a linebacker from Georgia.
I would love
that's going in the portal. And again, we don't have any inside info. But a couple of different people that I listen to, James Coleman's one of them. There's a couple other people that I listen to that tend to have some connections. Apparently there's some smoke with that.
Yeah, it would be great. I'll take almost any player from Georgia at this point. But Vince, let's get into the college football playoff talk. So listen, I want to start off by telling everyone something very clear that Vince talked about a little bit earlier in the show, but they, on all these shows, the committee, everyone involved in the college football playoff discussion, decisions,
Thank you, Jeff,
etc., before they make the final picks at the end of the year, it's all to drive controversy and clicks and discussion. So when you see your favorite or least favorite analyst or writer saying, this team doesn't deserve to be in and this team does deserve to be in, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And they are designing this for you to have that reaction. So when Florida State last week dropped out of the top 4, you don't think the committee knew that the very next week Ohio State or Michigan would lose and Florida State would be right back up to number 4? They knew that. It was so they did it. It was good for ratings, right? And a whole lot of talking points, but now we're right back where we are. And in no scenario can I see now at this point, if we win against Louisville, there's no way that they keep us out. The only way other teams end up in is if Oregon wins this week against Washington, maybe, or if Alabama beats Georgia, and then things can happen with Texas and all that. But in those scenarios, we would just be moving up to 2 or 3. We wouldn't be moving out. So Vince, I know you agree with me on this. It's just media coverage, man. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. When you're talking about, when the committee put us at 5 and whatever, I mean, I already knew they were going to bump us down just because, Oregon had a good win against a ranked
Washington.
opponent, and it made sense, right? But like you said, they also knew that one of the others ahead of us were going to lose the next week. But not only that, like, they know that whoever gets shuffled out of that top 4, it
Yeah.
is going to create a social media bonanza.
Mhm.
It's a bonanza, and we all play into it. I don't play into it in terms of, like, angry tweeting or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm reading what other people are tweeting, especially non-fans, null fans, just and responding to them, right?
Yeah.
Not really trying to poke the bear, but just trying to put a little bit of rational thought behind a very irrational game and a very irrational emotion. College football that's what it is. There is no way, Ryan,
Yeah.
if we win this weekend,
Mhm.
we are in. I don't care who else wins and loses.
No, absolutely not. We're going to be in. And to answer Philip's question, no, I actually think if Georgia loses to Alabama, I think you'll end up with no SEC team in the playoff. I think you will see Michigan at number 1. I think you would see Florida State.
If Washington wins, Washington would be number 2.
We'd be 3, and then
We
Texas
would be
4.
3, and then Texas would be 4. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Yep.
Right.
Texas beat Alabama if Alabama beats Georgia. So, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. So I don't, so there's a lot of people online saying, like, who should Florida State, root for or not root for? Root for Florida State.
Yeah, we don't care at this point.
None of the rest of it matters.
It'll be fun for us. I mean, it's entertainment if Oregon beats Washington and Georgia loses to Alabama and Michigan loses to Iowa. Like, that would be fun. If all 3 of those things happen, Vince, we'd be number 1 headed into the playoffs. How about that?
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny? And so that's the battle fronts that I've been on today have been about how FSU is not one of the top 4 teams. And this is from not just like teams behind Florida State.
Yeah.
Like the other top 4 teams. Florida State, they're not a top 4 team. How do you know?
Yeah,
How do you know? All we do is win games.
Listen, the playoff committee has set the precedent that an undefeated conference champion gets in, period. Like, it's never not happened. So, and it's never even come close to like, it's never been in question. So if
my
you beat
confidence,
Louisville,
my confidence, Ryan, is exactly that.
Yeah.
My confidence is not Florida State. Florida State deserves to be in the college football playoff because we're some world-beating team.
Yeah.
My confidence comes from the fact that if we win this weekend, then we're in.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then we're not. And that's, because games matter and wins and losses matter. So all you Alabama fans that were, that I were responding to your stuff today about how, if they beat Georgia, they should be in the playoff. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Not only did they already lose a game, but then you look like crap for the first 4 games. You don't erase that.
Yeah, so don't talk to me about eye test.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about eye test, let's talk about how you almost blew a game against USF.
Let's be honest.
Let's talk about
how you past weekend.
How you lucked out because some guy muffed a punt. Don't talk to me about eye tests. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, they lucked out because of a 4th and 30 this weekend.
Yeah, it riles me up in a positive way because it's to me, it's an easy retort. Because I was just talking to my wife. I remember years where Florida State was on the outside looking in because we had a misstep throughout the year.
Yeah.
We had to pray that someone ahead of us would lose.
Yeah.
But in my mind, am I thinking Florida State's better than that team? Maybe.
Yeah.
But we blew it.
Yep.
Right? How many if you were to say, well, the best team should get in, well, then Florida State should have 2 or 3 more national titles from the 80s and the 90s because at the end of the year they were the best. They were the quote unquote best team at the end of the year. Get out of here with that nonsense, man.
Yeah, and the playoff committee has made it clear over the years that conference championships matter, undefeated records matter, and that the strength of schedule and all that kind of stuff do matter. We have a perfectly fine strength of schedule. It's not the highest, it's not bad. It's right there in the middle to upper half. We've won every game. We have beat the reigning Heisman front runner. We embarrassed them on a neutral field.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Like, they'll say, well, who did Florida State play? And they'll bring up, well, Alabama beat blah, blah, and they beat LSU. Like, hello?
Yeah.
We beat them worse than any other team this year.
You know why that is, though? It's because it was so anytime a team has a big win at the beginning of a season, be honest, Vince, it does feel like forever ago that game took place. Like, it feels like an eternity. So I think that's recency bias. That's teams that have beat someone last week or the week before saying, who has Florida State played? When we put on a hurting again, and by the way, we stopped a Heisman Trophy likely winning quarterback when no team in the country has stopped him since.
And that final score is skewed because the last touchdown they scored were against our third teamers. So, and you're right. The earlier in the season you lose, the better it is, and or win. But people forget about it.
Yeah.
People forget about that. And they're like, well, Jordan Travis. I don't care. Keon Coleman scored 3 touchdowns in that game. It's not just a single person. Do I think I'm getting hot now, Ryan? Do I think Florida State's better with Jordan Travis at the helm? Absolutely. Somebody asked me that question today. Well, wouldn't you agree that Florida State's better? I say, of course.
Was that person's name Cody?
No. Any team, not just Florida State fans, any fan would say, of course, our team would be much more confident if our QB1 was still available. It's not just about Florida State. And again, Florida State drives numbers. Look at how many people watched that game this weekend.
Yeah, Vince, I will say, speaking to that, Florida State has had 5 games of 5 million plus viewers this season. The rest of the ACC combined has had 3.
Yes, that didn't include us. Correct.
Yeah. So we are driving like the entire revenue and viewership of the ACC right now.
And it's not just TV viewership. Florida State, God bless us all. God bless you fans out there, and I'm one of them. We drive numbers, and they needle us to get us engaged, and we take the bait. We take the bait. But what Ryan and I are here to tell you is that if you're going to engage, do it in a rational way and point out the logic flaws, right? And then just sit back and wish your team to win this weekend.
You got a little fireworks there.
Yeah, that's the new thing, right? Wish your team to win this weekend. Root for your team, because if your team wins, if Florida State wins, they're in. And I don't care. Somebody was saying, well, Florida State's going to get boat raced.
Okay. TCU got boat raced in the national championship. I'm sure TCU fans would say, I would do that all over again to make it to the national title.
What am I going to say? Oh, you know what? You're right. Florida State couldn't possibly beat Georgia, so let's just not even go to the playoff? Come on.
Yeah, TCU fans would take an ass kicking any day over not going, right? I mean,
Kirk says Auburn was winning 24-20 with 32 seconds left in the game. That's right. They muffed the punt. They had the game won. And the guy muffs the punt, and then they win on a fluke Hail Mary, 32-yard, 4th and 31 or whatever it is. And so, hey, you could say, hey, Alabama's really resilient, so we should reward them for that. Yeah. Who's the most resilient team we've watched this year?
Yeah, 100% Florida State. And Vince, I could tell, it's easy to get in these discussions and get heated, but we have, that is funny. Can we engage with a middle finger spit? Or Florida, full of class as always. Wonderful culture they have building there, but that's fantastic. But Vince, I think it's about time we get into the ACC championship, the game at hand. On a Wednesday evening at 7:40 at night, I am feeling mildly confident. Not supremely confident, we are definitely going to beat Louisville, because Louisville is a good team. I do think the loss last week maybe takes some wind or some juice out of them a little bit. Not from a, I'm sure they'll be excited to play in the game, but when a team is used to winning every single week, and for now a year and a half, like Florida State is, versus a team who has had some losses, when those tough moments rise up, usually the team who is used to winning every game tends to respond better. But we'll see. And I think Louisville's a talented, and Jeff Brom's done a good job. I think he's a good coach, and that man loves him some Louisville. Um, I feel mildly confident. I think Tate Rodemaker will play better. And I think you're going to see a few players that may have been almost ready to play or maybe even ready to play, but they felt like based on our opponents the last month of the season, maybe they didn't have to burn to get them on the field. I think maybe some Robert Scott might see some action this week. And Vince, don't forget, we get past this game. DJ Lundy is right. Oh, I mean,
Daryl Jackson.
Daryl Jackson is just waiting there. And I get excited every time I think of it. That's why I want to win this game so bad and get to the playoffs, because that's a huge wild card.
Yeah, I mean, my confidence level on this game is I'm cautiously optimistic, right?
Yeah.
Because Tate's first start in the Swamp was going to have some bumps, but now that's behind him, right? It's a neutral place
It's
as
not
far
really
as
gonna
like
be
it's
neutral, though.
You know what I'm saying, though.
Florida
It's
State
not a
fans are
home
gonna-
game. It's not an away game.
Yeah.
Florida State fans are going to be there, but it's not going to be that, right? And he's got a game under his belt, and I think the most pressure. I think there's more pressure for the team in that Florida game than they feel in this game. You say, well, why would that be? It's a championship game because that was the first game without Jordan.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's the equivalent of going to battle without the commander that's usually led you to victory and wondering, can we do it without him? Even if you think you can, until you know you can do it without your leader, you really have a hard time 100% knowing. And now that they know, hey, we beat an SEC team away in their own stadium without Jordan Travis. We got this, and I think that's going to breed confidence in them this week.
Yeah, there's just not going to be that kind of oppressive weight. There's still weight, right? There's still adversity because it's a championship game. I get that, but it's not that. And I think they're going to play a little more loose.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, if guys have been being held out, they're close. They're close, so close to coming back. And they can play. Why would they not play in this game? Because after this game, they've got a month before they would have to play again.
And that's an exciting thought for a team that's been so injured.
I think you're right. I think that we are going to see some guys in the game that we haven't seen for a while.
Destin Hill, Hakeem Williams, Robert
Scott, Bless Harris. I mean, we're going to see those guys. I believe we're going to see those guys, and it's going now. There's a little bit of rust there we have to deal with, right?
Sure.
But I do have some cautious optimism about being a little more fluid as a team this weekend.
I do want to address that comment from Kirk here. We didn't need them to be in the top 10. Louisville could be an 8-4 team right now, unranked. And if Florida State was undefeated and won the conference, Florida State would be in the playoffs. We didn't need anything from Louisville.
I mean, if you don't need them to get in.
No.
You just need to win. But if you want to entertain, fools on social media and go back and forth and argue about strength of schedule and how many ranked teams been, all that other nonsense that doesn't matter, by the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Then okay. But as far as making the playoff, I don't believe that has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Philip says, I'd like to see some design runs for Rodemaker or Glenn or Keon and Wildcat. I think you're going to see some called runs for Tate. I think you are going to see a couple.
Yeah. Keon will be
I don't think you're going to see
game.
a lot. I don't think you're going to see a lot because, while Brock Glenn, probably his upside, his ceiling is really, really high. I don't know that the coaching staff would feel as good with him being the go-to guy for the majority of a game
Yeah.
because Tate gets hurt.
Yeah, and you'll see Keon utilize. You can say it's an extension of the run game and the screen game. But I think Vince, because you and I talked a little bit about, hey, they're not really running the Wildcat maybe like 4 games into the season, but I really think they ran the Wildcat in years past because with different players because we didn't have the hosses to win
To run the ball.
traditionally, and so we needed to come up with creative ways to get first downs. And I think now we're to a place where that whether it be passing, screen game, running, whatever it is, that they don't feel the need to use a gimmicky type play. You notice we haven't had a whole lot of trick plays. We haven't, like we did last year, we haven't had a ton of Wildcat. So it's been more traditional, which I think is a byproduct of just having a better team.
Yeah, and that's true. And I'm really kind of annoyed that the fake punt didn't get called correctly, or was a delay of game or whatever, because that was well executed last week.
And Kirk,
Jordan is going to be at the game this week. As a matter of fact, I think he just had surgery.
Yep, he did.
And I think I guess the surgery was in Charlotte, maybe.
Yeah,
because he was already there. So I mean, I don't have that as clear-cut information, but Jordan will be there.
Kirk, I think your question, has AJ Duffy been forgotten about or is he redshirted? No, he's not redshirted this year. But I think it's pretty clear based on what we hear and what you see that Brock Glenn is the clear-cut number 2. So don't be surprised, Kirk, if in the next few days or weeks that you may see AJ Duffy in the transfer portal, which a few people on social media will say, what the heck? Like, what's going on? Guys, this is what happens when you have a quarterback room. When you have a good quarterback room, Brock Glenn is a legitimate quarterback. And then we have, one of the best quarterbacks in the country coming in, and Kromohoff coming in this coming season in the spring. I think he's graduating early. So listen, if the writing's on the wall that you're going to be third or maybe even fourth string quarterback, then it's transfer and go play somewhere else. So I think AJ Duffy's days are numbered likely at Florida State. Which,
you don't fault him for that.
No, I want him to go be successful.
I want him to go be successful and get a place to play. And quarterbacks, that's what they want to. And so you wish him well. That's what happens. I do not believe you're going to get any kind of announcements or anything about Florida State people going into the portal until after this game this week.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's enough. I mean, they may already be planning it, right? But I don't think you're going to see any announcements, just because I think the culture in that group is such that they do not want to cause any kind of bad vibes, as goals are trying to be accomplished.
Yeah, and Vince, to be honest with you, just being frank, even if you're a backup or a third string, it wouldn't suck to be part of a potential national championship team. So
that's right.
If you're out of it right now, if you're a Florida Gator, the season's over. You're not even going to a bowl game. You got nothing better to do than okay, it's time to announce. But if you're AJ Duffy, you might want to get a national championship ring. And if you leave and enter the portal, a lot of times, unless you finish the season with a team, you don't get a ring. And a lot of these guys would love to be on a national championship team. And listen, a guy like AJ Duffy, if he entered the transfer portal in the next round, he would still get picked up somewhere. So I think there is something to that for teams that are still potentially playoff bound. We'll have less transfers in this round and more in the next round. That's pretty normal. But Vince, do you want to get into prediction time? I know we're going pretty long on this episode. Are you ready for some predictions for the game?
Yeah, I just want to hit Char here real quick. Really hope the Noles make a statement this week and win by 21. Yeah, me too. I hope so too. But really, I'll take one. I'll take a 1-point win too.
That profile image makes a statement. Every time I see it.
It does.
Well,
I also want to mention before we get to the predictions for this weekend, because I texted you leading into the game on Saturday. I asked you what your prediction was going to be. You said 28-21. And I said 31-20. So we are both. Just want to make sure I have that for the record. We did not do an ACC pick'em.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
had a
think
lot
last
going
week.
on.
We had a
Thanksgiving
lot
week
going
and all
on. So,
that.
but at least we'll have that to add to the mix. What's the
Absolutely.
spread on this game now, Ryan?
Do you know it by heart?
I don't know the spread.
Let's see. FSU, Louisville. I'll pull it up right now live. This is some live coverage, and we'll see what we got here.
Philip says 2.5.
I think that was it. I remember that's what it was yesterday, so that sounds right. But all right, I'm going to say Florida State easily covers. And Vince, I'm going to say Florida State wins the ACC championship and a chance to go to the college football playoff 31-14.
Yeah.
Because that's mainly based around I think the defense will put a stop to anything Louisville attempts to really do.
Yeah, I like the 31 part. I'm going to say 31-17. I think that the defense is playing really, really well right now, and I think it's to the point where we can expect teams to not score 20.
Yep.
But I do like Jeff Brom as a coach, right? He's a great coach. It's going to take a little bit of time for the team to settle in, like it always does every week. So why would this be any different?
Yep.
But I think the resiliency of this team. I think we're looking at 31-17. You said 31-14. Is that what you said?
31-14. Yeah.
Yeah. Philip's asking if we're going to have defensive touchdowns. Oh, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope we're spot on. We try to be. Philip Dugas asked for defensive touchdowns. I don't know. Wouldn't that be great? There were a couple of dropped interceptions this past weekend. Wouldn't that be great to see that? Philip Magyar, 27-24, good guy. So he's going nail biter. We're going to see Philip at the game. Actually, I know Philip Magyar is going to the game as well. But yeah, if it's a nail biter like that, I mean, okay. I mean, I already don't have any hair.
Yeah,
Brian, and
neither one of us do.
And my blood pressure is just now finally coming down from this past weekend's game. So, what's another blood pressure game in the grand scheme of things? And Vince, 13 for 13. Let's get it done.
On Saturday night, Vince, after the game too, it'll be the first night I have all my furniture and stuff here. So I think, Vince, for the special occasion, I might bust out if we win, I might bust out maybe a special liquor or something.
Oh, well, that sounds fancy. I unfortunately will not be there to enjoy it with you. Are you going to bust out the liquor, win or lose, or just win?
On camera winning, losing after the camera is done rolling.
On your own.
I'll try to get you live in on the show, Vince, on the post-game show. And listen, for all of you watching right now, if I do the post-game and Vince, whether he's able to join or not, I'm sure he doesn't know about the coverage or the cellular coverage in that area. But I kind of feel like if Vince isn't able to join right away, as many of you as possible, come to the post-game show immediately following the game, because I'm hoping to be celebrating a playoff berth, and I'm going to be blasting all of your comments to the moon, going full Fanville. Man, we're going to go all the way.
Maybe what you got to do, Ryan, is actually do a call-in show.
I don't know how technology-wise, I know.
Oh, we can figure that out. It's pretty easy to do. So maybe we work on a call-in show for that, provided we win. And comment. And don't get me wrong, okay? Because I know I've been very loud and obnoxious during this show tonight. I'm fully aware that we could possibly lose this game this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Fully aware of that.
Yeah.
Fully aware of that. But I also have confidence that this team will not buckle or fold. So regardless, yeah. What about a call-in show, Ryan?
Yeah. Those of you watching who are still in the comment section, would you guys enjoy a call-in show? Would you enjoy post-game after the ACC championship, a little call-in action where I bring you live on the Garnet Old Show? Leave us a comment. Let us know if you would like that. I certainly would enjoy it. And listen, if we win the game, It's going to be a little
It's
tipsy
going to be a little
time.
loose.
Yeah,
it's going to be a little
tipsy.
loose, man. And just so everybody, we already said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to be there. I'm going to try to do a couple quick live things before the game just to give people a little kind of taste of what's going on there in case, for those that don't get to go. So Ryan, you don't necessarily need to jump on for that. I might just go quick live or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have the higher quality post game show following Vince's live stream.
Yeah.
Vince, Kristen, the wife, will be out still in Jacksonville following that game. So I will probably be hopping on maybe with even like 2 to 3 minutes left in the game, depending on how close it is. So pretty excited.
Shannon wants 65. So we're going to break the war chant record during this game. Let's do it. And whatever Louisville's, fourth quarter traditional song they play over the speakers, let's go ahead and play the war chant during that.
How about play the war chant all the damn time?
That's right. I hopefully don't need a rain poncho. Probably looking like we're going to need a rain poncho, though.
Probably. You have fun with that, Vince. I'll be in the nice, cozy sofa.
You wish you were going to be there.
No, I know. I would do. And then the real tough decision comes because, Vince, if we win this game, we might have to have some talks on if Garnet Old might have to hop on maybe we'll wait either for the first playoff game or the national championship game. What exciting thoughts those are, huh?
Yeah, how about that? How about a little war chant all the damn time?
Absolutely.
How about a little bit of that? So send Chiefs all the damn time. You see what happens when they do. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. And
great show,
if you're
man.
If you're in Charlotte, find me.
Come find Vince. He'll be the guy, the bald guy.
I'll be wearing Garnet
poncho.
I'll be wearing Garnet.
Only Garnet, shirtless in the rain, singing Seminole Wind.
12-0, baby. Let's get to 13. Let's finish this thing off, and let's get in the playoff. And if we don't win, it's been an amazing regular season, man.
And we'll still have a bowl game to look forward to.
I don't want to diminish that either. I mean, it's amazing what's happened, and it will go down in history as being a great season regardless. But
Vincent, we would still end up.
Let's just go ahead and finish it.
We would be in a New York 6 bowl game still too. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. The comment section was fun tonight. You guys are awesome coming on in and enjoying the show and interacting with us. We'll try to definitely do this call-in show if we can make it work. And join us right after the game this Sunday for the live post-game instant reaction call-in show, apparently. And send the Chiefs all the damn time. Garnet Old, no inside info, no contacts, no problem. Vince, have a great night.
Go Noles. Don't back down, people.